This is Abhisheksengupta and welcome back. We are here with another episode of Knowledge Talks and we are privileged to have Berk once again. Now, we all know Berk. He is an amazing person. He is based out in Bulgaria. He is an organic marketing coach. His story is very interesting. He went on from being a broke to a six-figure generator. He started a dropshipping business, but it failed. He tried his luck with crypto, but lost money. This was disappointing for him. Then he forced himself to come out of the comfort zone and start posting in social media. Now, this changed his life. He worked with many entrepreneurs. He built a rock solid consulting business, which in turn transformed many lives. Now, as Berk is here with us, we have taken a wonderful and interesting topic for discussion that is client acquisition. First and foremost, Berk, welcome to our show and thank you for being a guest once again for the second time.
Thank you once again, Abhishek, for inviting me. The pleasure is mine to be here again and probably share some different knowledge from what I shared last time that will be helpful and valuable for the audience.
So, this brings us to the point number one, client acquisition and its importance. Now, we all know that business requires client. So, hence, a business need to acquire clients. Now, client acquisition is not a rocket science, but this requires a lot of planning and a consistent effort. Now, Burke, we would like to hear from you. What is this client acquisition and how it is important for a business? Over to you.
This is a fantastic question, Avi, and thank you so much for asking this because you said it in the introduction. Client acquisition arguably is one of the most important thing for any kind of business. Why? Because you don't have a business when you don't have clients. And client acquisition is simply a process that helps you generate clients. It's simple as that. I'm not here to give any complicated explanations because I like getting straight to the point. Client acquisition is a process of getting clients. Why it's important? As I mentioned, business without clients is not a business. And I like to always give this analogy to whoever asks me this question about client acquisition. I would say right now, your client acquisition is not the most important thing for your business only, but for your life. Why? Let me kind of reverse engineer and explain. Right now, your life, quote unquote, is dependent in some way to your business. Because when your business is successful, when you make money, you have a good life. And your business is dependent on your client acquisition process. Because when you have clients, you have business, therefore, your life is great. So your life is related to your client acquisition process. And I think this makes the point clear of how important it is and why it is a must for every business owner to have some know-how, which is what they will learn today.
Wonderfully explained. It's very simple, but it's a very powerful definition. You have rightly mentioned that client acquisition is very important. Why it is very important? If you have client, you have business, and vice versa. That means if you do not have clients, there is no business. Now, it is always said that sales is the backbone of business. Without any sale, business does not exist. Without backbone, one cannot stand, one cannot sit, one cannot do anything. So black backbone is important. Like that, backbone of business is sales. We always say that it is best sold product. We don't say it is best made product, right? It's best sold book, it's best sold product. We always count on the sale figure, and we must remember that without client, this cannot happen. So, some of the wonderful points which we got from you, Burke. Now, this takes us to the second point, ideal target audience. Now, many a times we said that in order to acquire client, we acquire many of the clients who are not suited for our product, or probably we target a wrong market. So, how do you identify the ideal target audience for a product or a business? Over to you.
Yes. First of all, since my expertise is in the consulting slash the coaching industry, I would speak about this industry. But of course, the principles that I'm about to share apply for any business model. Because myself, I made the mistake of not having an ideal clients, and I tried to sign every single person who just had money. But I heard this great analogy from Alex Hormozy, and the credit goes for him. He said that Harvard has roughly 3% acceptance rate. And then he asked the audience, if Harvard has this acceptance rate, why do you accept every single person if the only requirement they meet is having the money? And when I heard this, it actually clicked for me because this is what I was doing. In the beginning of my business journey, I was eager to just sign clients to get some money in, which is kind of a bad thing because yes, I got clients, I made some money, but later on it kind of turned a back turn because the client I got didn't get the results they wanted since they're not my ideal clients, first and foremost. Second, I caused more headache than I ever imagined because you're constantly stressing that you're not delivering results, clients are not happy, they're complaining, they're ruining the whole culture. I've been there. That's why my recommendation for everyone is to identify this client avatar. In the coaching industry, the best equation for finding your ideal client is this quote: your ideal client is your past self. Your past self can be you 4 months ago, 1 year ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Because ideally, when you're in the coaching slash consulting business, you're providing some sort of transformation that you have achieved, or maybe you have helped someone else achieve. So, this ideal client is you or the person you helped in the past. And this is a must for every business. Why? Because of this saying: if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So if you don't have this ideal client, you'll be making, for example, content. One day you will speak about one avatar, the other day you will speak about different avatar, and so on and so on. People will be confused. Like they don't know if the content is for them. They don't know if it's the right place, why they should follow you. Same thing goes for ads. If you're speaking about one person throughout your ad, then you change to another person, people will be confused. And another quote that I will add to finish answering this question is that a confused mind never buys.
I think some of the wonderful points you have just said, Berk. Uh, it is always said that in our when I was into hotel sales, it is and we have been specifically mentioned that if you're selling everyone, if you're selling to everyone, you are basically selling to no one. It is absolutely right because you have to have something what we call as product market fit. Your product or your service has to fit to a certain strata of the market. You cannot run or you cannot serve the whole strata of the market right from top to bottom. Absolutely, this is not possible. Apple has got a separate set of market, and similarly Samsung has got a separate set of market. Even there are different phones, they have got different set of market. So you cannot mix it. If you are targeting right from Apple customer to the Android customer, obviously it's not going to sell. You have to do a proper market fix. So likewise in car, in case you are buying Hyundai, which is of course a great car, of course there is a different set of market, separate set of customers for them. Or at the same time, if you are buying Ferrari or if you are selling Ferrari, that's having a different set of market. So product market fit is when you have to fit into a certain niche of product. And if you're selling to wrong customers or if you're selling to a wrong client or if you're acquiring wrong client, that is going to do more harm than good. So this is many people, many businesses really suffered by acquiring wrong clients. I have personally seen that. So wonderful points, Berk. Now I'm going to the next point with this. Now, client acquisition and branding. Now, many a times it is said that branding is one of the pillars of a client acquisition. Now, many people agree with this. Many people do not agree with this. Now, but even if you agree, if you don't agree, branding does play a role in client acquisition. So, what is your thought on this? Over to you.
Yes, I would 100% agree that branding plays a huge role in the client acquisition process. And this is something I've seen myself. Without my personal brand, the one I built on Instagram, the reputation I built on YouTube, I would never got the clients I got because one thing is missing, and this is the most important factor in sales that probably most of you are aware, which is the key LT factor. Know, like, and trust. People have to know you, like you, and trust you so they can buy from you. Like if you approach someone and you don't have this, let's call it this personal brand built, it's like you being approached by a random guy on the street and them trying to sell you something. Most of the times you won't buy because you don't know this person, you don't know them, you don't know their product, nothing. And a personal brand helps us build this reputation first and foremost, which is crucial for this KOT factor in sales. And not only that, personal branding has a lot of benefits apart from the trust factor. You also get to have the recognition, which is something really interesting, and I want to explain why it's important to have this branding, this recognition, by explaining about one strange psychological phenomenon called the Stockholm Syndrome. For those of you who are not aware about the Stockholm Syndrome, this is something that scientists discovered. Let's say a person gets kidnapped and he stays with the kidnapper for a certain period, usually more than 3 to 6 months. Then this person who got kidnapped gets rescued and they return him back to the family. Yes, we might say that's great. This person will be happy right now. Their life will be great. Everything could be right. But that's not the case. Almost 99% of people fell in love with the kidnappers. They wanted to go back. They wanted to be with the kidnapper. And we're all confused and we all wonder why this happens. Scientists discovered that the reason is because the brain of this person who got kidnapped got familiar with the kidnapper, since the kidnapper was the only person they were exposed for a certain period. And I always tell my clients this analogy because we can apply this to business. How? The more you're seen by your ideal clients, the more their brain will get familiar with you. Therefore, they will quote unquote fall in love with you, which will make the whole buying process easier. And that's how important and powerful branding is. And this is a must for everyone because it makes the whole client acquisition process easy. Yes, you can run client acquisition without, having this personal brand, but it will be way, way more harder for you, especially nowadays where people buy from people. Just remember this.
That's pretty interesting. Two of the points which I think, not two, I think three of the points which I have just taken down, I was scribbling down when we were talking, Sid. KLI, know, like, and interest. Now, first and foremost, person has to know what product you are selling, right? And once they know, then they will like it and they will have their interest in that product. Unless this triangle or gets completed, nothing will happen. People will not buy it. You will not get the clients. So KLI is a wonderful phenomena. Uh, Second is the Stockholm syndromes. Now, it reminds me of a story which I read in during my school days, probably. One person always was used to stealing and they used to go to jails. He was so familiar, so comfortable with the jail that he never wanted to be free. So that's exactly the thing, because people are
Yeah.
familiar, people are comfortable to the surrounding when he or she keeps on getting an exposure of that. So that's the thing. What even the child feels uh, himself or herself in the company of mother or father, in parents' company. But when someone else approaches it, child starts crying. So that's the thing. Exactly the same thing happens in business. The more you make your clients familiar with you, uh, that's going to be a boon or blessing for your business. And third is that more they see you, more they trust you, and more they buy from you, more they become your client. So there is a saying that out of sight, out of mind. That should not happen in business.
Yes,
Keep
yes,
on
yes.
knocking. So branding keeps on, keeps on hitting their brain. I must say, they didn't, branding doesn't allow your customers to forget you, or that's something beneficial for business or startup. So some of the wonderful points which you have said. Now this takes us to the next point. trust building. Now, trust building is very important in business. Now, it is said that people pay for trust, or your customers pay for trust. They don't pay for your product. They will pay for your products only if they have trust in you. So people pay thousands or of dollars for Ferrari, or even more than that, hundreds of thousands, I would say, for Ferrari, because they have a trust in that machine. Similarly, people pay thousands of dollars for an Apple phone, even if it costs a ton. Even person can have a phone even half of its price, but people still go for Apple because they have a trust in the brand. So what strategies can business use to establish trust with their potential clients? Because remember, potential clients do not know the service provider or the product manufacturer. They are potential, and they are yet to use your products. Over to you.
Yes. One strategy we already discussed previously was the Stockholm syndrome, is something that people can leverage first and foremost to build this trust that they're looking for, which is consistently creating content in any form. This can be video, images, podcasts, whatever. But you have to be consistently seen by your audience so they can develop this trust, which is one of the strategies. Another thing that people can do is simply build their personal brand. And the best advice I can always give to someone building their personal brand is just to be yourself. It might sound like a cliche, be yourself. What does it mean? Super simple. For the coaching industry, one of the most powerful piece of content people can use is a transformational post, which is a post that showcase the transformation you achieved in your own life. Because at the end of the day, people don't buy information, they buy transformation. So the transformational post can be super valuable for building trust because it shows the journey that you went through. It shows the transformation. It shows the ups. It shows the downs. And one advice is that people connect more with the downs. Like, yes, they can resonate with someone who is making a lot of money. That's cool. They aspire to be like him, but they will connect more with someone who is similar to them, someone who is going through the same challenges, through the same pains, through the same struggles. That's why I recommend everyone to be vocal and share your story. Share the ups, share the downs. This will make your audience connect with you, and we can connect this with the other point I made, which is to consistently share that. Because we as people, we forget. That's normal. If our brain is not designed to forget, at some point we'll explode. So you have to consistently remind people. We need to be reminded more than we need to be told. And these are the strategies I recommend people to use to build trust. Branding, and in this branding, share your story as much as possible.
Wonderfully explained. Stories have got a lot of power. Many a times we have seen that story can create a brand even. So that's there. So you have rightly pointed out that people resonate with your story if they have gone through the same phase. Mostly, the struggles and everything. But TED Talk, yeah, we all know the TED Talk. TED Talk is one of the very celebrated talk. TED Talk is, why it is so popular? Because when a TED Talk speaker tells his story or her story, people can resonate. Okay, this person also faced this kind of problem which I'm facing now, and that's how he has come out of it, or she has come out of it. So TED Talks are immensely successful because of the story it attaches. So every brand, whichever you are saying, has got a story. Steve Jobs has a story. Microsoft has a story. Bill Gates has a story. Everyone, even Elon Musk has a story. Everyone has a story. Gandhi has a story. One of the finest storyteller, I must say, is the Gandhi of India. That's my personal experience. That's how he got a huge audience, and audience are even ready to die for him. In Indian freedom struggle is a bit different. It's not a struggle of with the blood. Of course, a lot of people die, a lot of struggles has happened. But the story of Gandhi is unique. I must say, Gandhi was one of the amazing storyteller, which can build, millions of people. He can really make. He has got that aura, so that millions of people listen to him. So wonderful thing which you have mentioned. Third is that you have noted the importance of content making. Now, content making, we say, content is again a story which people consume. Content is what some people consume. Now, nowadays, the marketing strategies, our trust building strategies are a bit different. They largely rely on what we call as authority based marketing. You have to first show your authority through your talks, through your contents, through everything, so that people can resonate with you, and that's how you develop a trust. So that's what. So point number one was stories. Point number two was resonating the story with oneself, and third was the authority based marketing. These are the three takeaways from you. Now, this takes us to the next point, scalability. Now, scalability is important in business. It is said that either you go up in business or you are removed from business. So, scalability is a very powerful thing. So, what advice would you like to give to businesses looking to scale their client acquisition efforts without increasing cost dramatically? Over to you.
Yes. First, I'll help them understand what is scaling, because this is something that majority of business owners don't even know, and no one told them what is scaling. I like to think always from first principles, and that's how we would define scaling. So what is scaling a business? Scaling is simply doing more of what is already working. And we have two constraints here. Find what works and do more. What I've observed is that most business owners are in the first stage where they're figuring out what actually works. Because you can't scale something that doesn't work. Actually, you can, but you scale something that will not produce the results that you want. So the first objective slash constraint business owner has to do is to find a proof of concept in their strategy. They have to find a predictable system that consistently get them the results that you want. Let's say you put $1 in, you get $3 out. You establish this proof of concept. You know every single step that you have to take, your team have to take to get these results. Then to scale your business, it's super easy. It is just more input. Because when you increase the input, you increase the output. And one other thing that I will explain this, which is fundamental for everyone, is system thinking. If you don't understand how a system works, how are you expected to scale a system, and how are you expected to scale a business? You can't. And no one told you this. That's why we're here to teach you this. So what is this system thinking on a high level? A system works like this. You have input, then this input is processed for a specific processes, and it produces a specific output. This output provides the system with a feedback, and based on this feedback, we can change the inputs. And of course, we all know, at least people who didn't skip classes in school, specifically biology and physics, that systems don't operate in vacuum. They operate in environment. So these are 5 elements that everyone has to know about systems: inputs, processes, outputs, environment, and feedback. When you understand these 5 elements of a system, then you can easily build your system, your client acquisition system. For most client acquisition systems, the inputs are people, which are potential clients. Your next constraint or your next objective is to create a certain process that will convert these people into clients, which is the output of a system. Input people, output clients. Feedback is, am I getting the clients I want? Am I hitting my numbers? Environment basically is where your system operates. This can be paid ads, organic marketing, YouTube, whatever. Once you understand these things, you can easily build a system. Once you build a system, through trial and error, you build this proof of concept that we're looking for, aka predictable results on your system. And scaling is just doing more for what is working.
Wonderful explanation. I got 2 points from this. First and foremost is you have to understand what is scalability. People, miss this very much. People have got a wrong conception about it. Scalability is doing more what actually works. Now, many a times people say that diversification is scalability, which is not, is doing more what it is actually working. So this is what is the definition of scalability, and people should stick to this. So in order to stick to this, they should find out what exactly is working. So that's the second mistake they do. Third thing, which you have mentioned, I must say, it's one of the wonderful point that you have to get into a system. It's not that you are doing everything yourself or you are doing things haphazard. You have to streamline your processes. Now you have rightly mentioned the five elements for that: input, processing, output, environment, and feedback. So that's amazing. These five point system, or 5 point, I mean, I must say the five factors of the system, whatever you are saying, is amazing. This can really help. Unless and until the processes in your company are in a systematic manner, you cannot scale up. There will be mistakes, there will be errors, there will be complaints, there will be everything out. So some of the wonderful points. Now, this brings us to the next point: the common mistakes of client acquisition. Now, many a times we have already discussed that you cannot sell it to everyone. You have to streamline. If you're getting wrong clients, you will suffer. Your business will suffer. So, what do you think? What are the other mistakes or common mistakes a business owner, a business founder does while doing client acquisition? Over to you.
Yeah, we discussed the main things while touching the other points, but there are still some nuances that people have to know about client acquisition and how they can avoid them. But I want to repeat myself because this is arguably one of the most important thing, and this is what I observed after working with hundreds of people so far. People don't understand how system works, and I would highly recommend them to rewatch this part once, twice, thrice, whatever times you need. Rewatch it until you understand how system works. Because if you don't understand how system works, ah, I wish you good luck in succeeding with business. So I hope everyone gets this point. Then one other thing that I observed after working with this hundreds of clients is that people don't have the right expectations. Like they think it doesn't require a lot of work. They think the whole process will be easy. Therefore, when they have this wrong expectations about business, client acquisition, scaling, they don't do the work. And my favorite quote is that strategies don't work unless you do. So in this, I want to give like share a message with all of the other people. Be prepared to do a lot of work. Be prepared to do a lot of testing because this is another mistake that people make. They don't do enough testing for their system. They don't try enough variables until they find something that they works. They try once, twice, and they say, that's it. This is not working. I give up. No, that's not how thing works. Let's say a scientist who's trying to uh, maybe solve some issue like to cure a disease. If they just give up after the first variation, our medicine wouldn't be to the point where it is now. So why you as a business owner, where your business can change lives, why do you give up after the first trial? After the first trial, why do you give up? You have to see yourself same as scientists. Your business is needed for your clients. They need it because you provide them with the life-changing transformation. And be prepared to do a lot of work, a lot of testing, a lot of repetition, because if you just give up after the first try, nothing else matter. This is what I observe people make. They have this wrong expectations, and of course, it's kind of related to a mindset, which is a whole another topic for a different day, and we can talk for hours about this. But people have to be aware about these two things: expectations and the volume that it takes.
That's pretty interesting, Berk, I must say. Uh, Two of the things that you have rightly mentioned, that first and foremost, people quit quite easily. Ideally, that should not be the case, I must say. We all know that Thomas Edison, before lighting his first lamp or first electrical lamp, how many times he has failed? He has failed more than 100 times, probably, or more than that. It is said that a master fails more number of times that the amateur event tried. So this is a very common thing. Mastered failed more number of times than amateur event tried. So that's what is the importance of this trying. So this is number one. Number two, you have mentioned that putting it in the system. System, I must say, it's very important, because as we have mentioned in the discussed in the last point, that without system nothing moves. You have to build a system, you have to follow the system. You can refine it over a period of time, that's perfectly all right, but it has to be there. The common mistakes are there are numerous, but some of the mistakes which you have mentioned is really amazing, and many of the times these are real eye openers. Even many times I also make many of the mistakes which you have mentioned, but that's how we learn, that's how we grow.
Yeah.
So that's what we should not be quitting. That's important. Now, this is bringing us to the end of this episode. Any closing remarks from you, Berk?
Yeah, it was a great talk, first and foremost, something that I want to mention, and I hope people took some notes, especially on the last thing that we discussed for client acquisition, for systems. Yes, for the mistakes, we covered a lot throughout the process, but they have to be aware of them. And that's why you cannot kill a dragon if you cannot see this. And this question was actually really great, just to mention about these common mistakes so people can be aware. Some closing words for me is I just want to finish with one quote that I live by my heart. The only way to fail is when you quit. And if you don't quit, you'll never fail. So just do the work, a lot of volume, do a lot of work, and I guarantee that you will succeed as long as you don't quit. Because it hurts me when I see people quitting, trying new things, and when they cannot stick with one thing for a long enough period until they make it successful.
Wonderfully mentioned that, two things, again, two takeaways from your closing remark. First, not to quit. Quitters never succeed. So that's number one. Secondly, people try too many things, but they don't stick with one thing and specialize that. A very famous quote from, martial arts specialist Bruce Lee is that he said that I'm not scared of people who try 100 moves. I'm scared of the people who practice one move 100 times. That's the real power. Thank you so much, Berk, for being a part of this episode. And a lot of takeaways, I must say. Personally, for me, there are not, probably I have scribbled a lot of points when you are speaking. So that's great. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And if any of you would like to connect with Berkent for the client acquisition in your business, or if you require any kind of mentorship about client acquisition, I will give his Instagram profile in the description of this episode, and please connect with him. Amazing content he makes in Instagram. I'm a regular follower of him, and please, I'm sure you will be benefited with his mentorship. And please subscribe to his YouTube channel as well as follow him in Instagram profile. To my podcast listeners, I request for a review. I want an honest review how my podcast is helping you and enhancing your life. If you have any question, please write it in the comment section. We will answer it as soon as possible. We'll be back with many such episodes. Till then, stay tuned, stay connected. Have a great day. And thank you so much, Berk, and once again for being a part of the show.
Thank you once again for being here, and hope to make another episodes in future.